very much comes off as loud as funny kind of guy.
Uh,
Um, because like he like screams incoherently and like shouts and stuff like all the time. And on streams, it is awful because they can't edit his volume. So like there was a time where I was watching a stream, and I mean, he was like peaking and blew out his mic at one point, and there were people in chat who were like, "Hey, if he is loud, like he's blowing out his mic, it's hard to actually watch because it's hurting my ears." And there are mods in the chat removing comments about it
man,
and just
like,
essentially ignoring it and telling them to go somewhere else if they have a problem. Because now Achievement Hunter has this whole new fucking community approach where they want to cut out the negativity of like people being like racist and sexist and stuff and all that. Because there was that whole thing where Fiona got a death threat or whatever, and they had a whole podcast talking about how they're changing how they're handling their stance towards the community and stuff. Uh, and it sounded great in the podcast because they're like, we're gonna knuckle down on shitty people in
yeah,
the comments and stuff like that. Sounds great. And they're also talking about how, oh, the Achievement Hunter group is like has been nothing but like a bunch of white guys for years. Um, and of course, Fiona is saying, there needs to be more diversity in this and that. Which I'm like, sure, more diversity is fine, but don't turn it into diversity for diversity's sake.
yeah.
Which, after watching that podcast, I started getting concerned because she was leaning so heavily in how there needs to be more girls and minorities and stuff there. And she's making it out that the only reason there's negative comments about her is because she's a minority and a woman,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm like, that's not correct. But yes, there are people who do act like that because of that, but it's
Yeah.
not wholly correct. There are some people who don't like you simply because they don't like you. The same reason why there are people that don't like Jack because they simply don't like Jack. Um, but now it's like you can't say anything negative about Fiona or Iffy. If you say something negative about Jack or Michael or Gavin or whatever, like if you say, "Oh, Gavin's such an idiot. He's so dumb." No, that's fine. If you say that about Fiona, deleted. Say it about Iffy, deleted. Um,
Like, I get that
if
they're.
you make
Go
if you
ahead.
make any kind of critique about Fiona or Iffy, deleted.
Like, I get that they're.
Pretty much.
I get that they're new-ish, but if the community is saying, "Hey, Mike, turn it down a little bit, please," don't fucking remove the comments and
Oh
say
yeah, no.
to go somewhere else. Fuck off.
Yeah, no. Because they've got this whole no tolerance policy for like being negative essentially.
It's like, okay,
And of course,
have a no tolerance for
in
negativity, but take the feedback.
well, of course, in the content now, there have been more consistently times where like people in the crew were like, "Oh, Fiona, you're so great. Oh, Iffy, I love having you around." This and that. It's gotten to the point where it's like you don't hear cast members talk about any other cast members like that in content. You just
Yeah.
don't. You don't hear Michael saying how much he loves Gavin in videos that often,
Hell no.
or Jeremy saying that about Michael or whoever. You don't hear that as like nearly as much. It's something where it's coming off as very forced and like they're trying to convince the audience. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just like, so now it's getting to the point where I feel like the fan base doesn't really get to say anything unless they're just going to like bow down and accept any decision that's made for the cast. Because it used to be when they would try somebody out, they would bring them onto the show, and depending on how the fans reacted to them, that weighed heavily on whether or not they got added. Granted, there are times where it's backfired, like with Micah. They were going to add Micah, and then there was a lot of negativity, and they didn't realize until much later with the whole Fiona nonsense that it was because Micah was a girl. That there was a lot of like backlash, but at the same time, there are people who have valid criticisms.
Yeah. Well, in contrast to that, welcome to Critical Analysis, where all of your comments are accepted.
Yeah. I typically don't comment stuff. I have my opinion. I typically keep it to myself.
Yeah.
Because it's like I'm typically in that situation where it's like I have something to say, and I go through the comments, and it's like, somebody's already said it. Okay, I'm not gonna say it.
Yeah. Like there's no point in beating a dead horse.
Holy shit! Their Among Us video though. The first Among Us video Achievement Hunter did bombed real bad.
Yeah,
Oh man.
I remember watching it and then clicking off. Like
Oh
after.
yeah, I couldn't get through it. I made it like halfway through, and I was like, I can't do this. It's too hard to watch. Because it was a lot like watch. Well, I mean, it was, but it was like watching people play Monopoly, but like ignoring all the rules and
Yeah.
like fumbling around trying to understand how it works without reading the rule book. It's kind of what it felt like. It was, yeah, it hurt.
I didn't even make it halfway.
They addressed it on a podcast too, or in a stream too, because they decided they were going to stream Among Us. And they're like, yeah, so we've played this before, and we tried to do it our way because it doesn't really work that well for Achievement Hunter content as a video because of how we do things. But it works really well for streamers, and it's like, that's why you make it a stream game, you idiots. If you know Among Us isn't going to work like that, you should have predicted that the community was not going to be okay with the way you were going to play it, because literally nobody else plays it that way.
Yeah. It's like you see a bunch of these people play this game this way in this style. When everyone is doing something that should make something click.
Well, yeah, when you turn around and you decide you're going to do content for a particular game, and it's after already like so many people have been making content for it, that's what the expectation is.
Mm-hmm.
The expectation has been set by all those other people, and you need to like go in willing to meet those expectations and not like radically defy them. Which was the biggest problem. Is you have all these people coming in with the expectations of you doing it the way it's supposed to be done, and then you don't do it that way.
Yeah, you come in like, oh, I've seen this game. Mark and Jacksepticeye and PewDiePie, they played it like this. They all did their things. They were muted and they were deafened and they did all this. And then you come into Achievement Hunter and they're all, ah! It's like, what?
Well, yeah, it's
fuck?
like one of them dies and they're like, oh, I saw so and so do it. They did it, and then they report the body. And
Oh,
it's
Jack
like,
killed me. Well, this game isn't too fun now, is it?
yeah, and it's just like, okay, well, uh, the only reason the imposters were winning when they were playing is because, well, Achievement Hunter is a bunch of idiots.
Yeah, Achievement Hunter is Achievement Hunter.
Yeah. I guarantee though, if they had stuck to their guns and continued to play it that way, it would have gotten to the point where the imposters would never win.
Oh yeah.
Because as they got more familiar with the game, it would become just impossible for imposters to do anything.
Yeah. I think the only Rooster Teeth show I watched was Red versus Blue, and even then I stopped watching it after a while.
Yeah, the last few seasons were not great. I don't know what they were doing, you know? Like, I think they kind of like lost the magic, so to speak.
Yeah, after Monty.
Uh,
After Monty.
oh, I mean, it was still good for a while after Monty, Like, so,
From what I
like,
saw, it was a
season.
steady decline. But yeah.
I mean, yes and no. Like, so, the recollection was kind of like peak RVB,
Mhm.
in my opinion. Which the freelancer stuff was still cool. Don't get me wrong. The freelancer animation stuff was fantastic.
Oh yeah.
So if I recall correctly, that's like season 9, 10, 11. I think it was 3 seasons that they were in.
Yeah, it was
But like when they,
the 3 R's.
yeah, when they moved into Halo 4, which I think was season 12, maybe, or maybe it was season 11.
I'll
Oh
try and
man, it was somewhere in that window. Um, when they got to Halo 4, I was kind of like, okay, because they kind of like they did have like this sort of like return to form of, yeah, we're in a box canyon, day to day shenanigans, which was kind of okay, but it was also like very directionless. Um, and it just didn't work in the same way that the Blood Cult Chronicles worked.
Yeah.
Um, and then it just kind of after that, it just kind of dragged on, just kept going. Like I
Mhm.
barely remember anything about the chorus arc other than like fuck Felix, piece of shit. Um, and I remember there being like some cool stuff in there. Like it wasn't all bad. There were still cool moments and stuff, and there's still funny lines and quips and everything, but it just wasn't the same. Especially when they kept rolling in new character after new character after new character. Um, and I think part of that problem is the fact that like Red versus Blue is a character series. What makes Red versus Blue is the main cast.
Mhm.
When you move away from the main cast, you kind of lose that. Now, freelancer era stuff was good because the freelancer characters were good, and we still had a good mix of freelancer stuff over here, main cast over here, and bouncing back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
Um, and it was very much a love letter to the Blood Gulch Chronicles because it's Epsilon remembering, or not Epsilon, but Alpha trying to remember
Yeah.
how things were. Um, I guess it wasn't even Alpha. Was it Epsilon? Oh, fucking
It
shit.
was Alpha who was Church.
Yeah, Alpha was there at the beginning, so I guess by the time it was Reach, it was Epsilon. Because Epsilon was in Recollection, but the EMP thing happened. Did he not get fried by the EMP? I don't remember now.
I think
Yeah, I'm not gonna overthink it.
yeah, I don't fully remember. I think it was um Alpha was in the
Yeah,
Epsilon unit and it got fried temporarily by the EMP and Donut
yeah.
was doing what he could to make a new best friend and
Caboose, not Donut.
caboose. I keep mixing them up.
Which fucking Joel left Rooster Teeth.
Yeah?
He's gone too. He got fired, quote unquote. More like quit and fired in response.
Yeah.
They still haven't said why, but it's been implied that something was said or done in the office that Joel did not agree with, and he left. He just stopped going.
I mean, fair
He was like,
enough.
"I'm done with Rooster Teeth." He just stopped showing up for work. It's like, all right, fair enough, dude. Props to you, man, for sticking by your guns, whatever those guns were. Yeah. Well, now they're talking about doing a new season of Red vs. Blue,
Yeah,
and it's going to have totally new characters.
can they not? Can they just
Oh,
not?
they're doing it.
Fuck.
Totally new characters. It looks like most of it is going to be like CG.
God damn it.
Um, I mean, I have nothing against CG as long as it's not like horrendous to look at.
Time will tell.
Because like Genlock was good, and Ruby's been good. Granted, the animation hasn't been on par with Monty animation, but it's still been good.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody who expects it to be on par with Monty animation are a bunch of fucking idiots because they can acknowledge Monty is a fucking god of animation.
Oh yeah.
But for whatever reason, they expect all the other animators on the team to be able to emulate that, which is just batshit insanity, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know. I don't know how this new season Red versus Blue is going to go, especially if it's the same guy writing it. Because if it's the same guy that, what's his name, Miles, I think is who's been writing it for like the last few seasons.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that I think he kind of drove it into the ground. So I don't know. I don't know how this new season will go.
So that was Rooster Teeth. Now we can get into the introduction of our video.
It's fine. You just cut that, put it in a podcast. It's fine.
I mean, it's funny that you mentioned it because
I was about to say, if you say you weren't recording,
no, all right. So, this thing. So, given the length of time that this particular story has been running, critical analysis that has been making us go through, I thought it would be
literally a series years in the making.
How long ago was the first one?
It's got to be at least 3 or 4 years old at this point.
I'm curious now.
Unless you're talking specifically about the Sonic readings. The Sonic readings, I don't know.
No, those were
We've
recent.
intermittently recorded these for like a few years now.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
so I know we've recorded while I was in Florida in my old apartment.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So
the first video was 2 years ago.
Was it my old apartment? No, it would have been my new apartment, I think. Yeah, because my counter was on my right. It would have been on my left if it was in my old apartment. So yeah.
Let's see. November 3rd, 2017.
Wow. Can we go back?
I wish. I really wish.
Just like get a redo like the past 5 years. That'd be great.
But yeah, I thought it would be advantageous to make this particular reading more podcast-ish format, just because of the length of time that it's taking us. Yeah. So first off, I was incorrect when we first started reading this. These numbers that split up these sections of this story are not chapters; they are parts. So this entire thing is just one chapter of whatever this guy has in mind. So I'm assuming that's intending for chapters in the future. I don't know. I'm not particularly keen on reading them, though.
Yeah, no. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, it's not okay. It will never be okay.
Well,
Bad creepypasta will never be okay.
So, in case, viewer, this is your first video, God help you.
Yeah.
By
You'll
me
need to pray tonight.
yeah, by me that you are watching. My name is Bowiehunter. I make primarily game-related content. However, I will deviate to short skits or reading things like this. And this is my friend Zach, who I
Yeah,
drag, who I drag, kicking and screaming into this with me. So
I
yeah.
might stream one day when I get control of my life.
I mean, I'm not against it.
I mean, I would like to stream. I
I'm
sit here, I fantasize about doing it, and then I'm terrible at getting my life together. And I also
I'm
can't decide what I want to stream, so
well. I heard this game called uh Phasmophobia has come out.
Yeah, I've seen some gameplay for it. I have a VR headset. That game very much seems like a game to play in VR.
It has VR
Um,
support, yes.
yeah, I've watched people play it in desktop, and I've watched people play it in VR, and I definitely think there's a greater quality of experience to be had in VR
Hmm.
with it. It very much seems like it's designed with VR in mind. Um, I
It
don't know if I can actually play that game though.
Why not?
Ghosts are pretty up there on my don't fuck with me list. Uh, like I can watch a lot of horror movies. Um, the thing is like watching ghost horror movies bore me,
Hmm.
but like ghost stories and stuff like that scares me.
Mm.
I don't know why. I think there's kind of like a disconnect with movie versus other mediums.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially in a game world where you're kind of like there's a level of interactivity there.
Hmm.
There's a level of immersion. Whereas a movie, it's like, yeah, I'm looking at a screen. Um, Plus, like, probably a big contributing factor is like ghost movies are very overdone in how they're handled.
Yeah.
A lot of them are very samey.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what's the series Paranormal or whatever. It's just like been the rehashed same shit for like what 20 movies now. More
Does
like seven, I think, but still.
I never even watched it. I remember it
I
being
haven't watched it either, but I've always seen the trailers and stuff, and I'm like, this movie just looks so fucking boring.
So yeah.
Like
Go
I
ahead.
like Alien and stuff. Those
Hmm.
those are my horror movies. Is like obviously OG Alien. The other Alien movies aren't precisely horror.
Yeah.
They're horror with subgenres attached. Like Aliens is action horror. It's a
Hmm.
different kind of horror. Uh, but yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't I wouldn't necessarily be against streaming Phasmophobia.
I mean,
I would
I'll
I
play
would
it.
definitely need to fucking clean my room though.
Well, that's only if you intend to use Facecam or a webcam of some sort.
Well, I gotta clean my room so I have play space.
Nah, just step on
Eh,
everything. It'll be fine.
yeah, nah, I don't want to do that. That's a bad idea. It's like it's very like it's a mess, but it's a neat mess. Like things are contained.
I feel very confident that my living space is fairly clean. I clean weekly. I
Yeah,
have to.
yeah. I used to, and then like sometimes I'll have like a month where I don't do anything.
Yeah.
It's not great.
So, this series This series is, if you haven't figured it out, called Critical Analysis, where I read the story primarily, and we talk about why it's pretty bad. You
It's
might
because
mhm.
God is dead and we've killed him.
you,
That's
you
why.
you might be inclined to say that this is a carbon copy of Michael Leroy's series, Bad Creepypasta, and to that I will say that I'd like to think we go into a bit more detail in terms of critique and analysis. However, on that subject, I have started thinking that after this, either this section or this story, we'll have to talk about it, that we start moving away from creepypasta. Just so that we have a bit of a better
Sure.
quality of what we're reading.
So we'll move on to shitty Sonic 18 plus fan fiction, right?
Absolutely.
Oh god. Silver, you're a twink. How long have you been waiting to say that? The entire dub, baby. I just rewatched that the other day. Goddamn. Fucking slayed me. Anybody's watching who doesn't know what that is in reference to, go look up Sonic.Exe live fan dub.
Oh god.
A bunch of voice actors. They have a script. They haven't read the script though, and they improvise as well. And they fan dub all the cutscenes of the game, sight unseen. So it's done live. It's a first time reading and dubbing, all like recorded and everything. It's so good. It's so good. It's a great part where Mistopheles, I think his name is, but they call him Memphis, Tennessee. Calls Silver a beta cuck. Killed me. It's so good. And he calls himself an alpha gamer. Oh god, I was fucking dying. This team is so good. Even the voice actors are struggling to like keep it together. You could hear them laughing in the background and shit. It's so good.
I am reacting to things now, I see.
Silver, you know what? You're a twink. I'm gonna go smoke some weed now.
How long were you waiting to say that?
The whole dub, baby!
Yeah, I figured. Okay, have fun.
The best part is it was like near the very end of the dub, and it came out of nowhere.
Welcome to my house. As you can see, I've knocked over many chairs because I get so tilted at the towers.
This isn't really a tilted or a tower.
Well, you see, it's a gamer pad. Not many girls come in here because I get friend zoned so frequently. But that's okay.
I'd like to be in the friend zone. I like friends.
It's not as pleasant as you'd think. They don't treat you like a friend. They treat you like an item. Sometimes I wish I could be more than just an accessory to these women. But unfortunately, as a gamer, I don't get respect.
Well, I'm not a gamer, so maybe they'll respect me.
That just makes you a beta cuck. That's the difference between you and I, Silver the Hedgehog. I'm a alpha gamer. Anyway, where we dropping, boys?
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh yeah, it's great.
So yeah. Yeah, so this will be
actually that'd be worse than bad creepypastas reading Sonic smut. Some pretty bad Sonic shit out there.
Well, Sonic in
Even
general
outside
is
the realm of creepypasta.
Sonic in general is just bad. Like,
I mean, have you played a Sonic game?
funny enough, for these last two readings that I edited and put up on the channel, I had to play Sonic games just for what's the word? Relevant material playing in the background. So I've just been playing Sonic games, and they're terrible. I hate it.
A lot of them are, yeah. There's only like a couple that are actually good.
Yeah.
I haven't played many of them. I wasn't a huge platformer kid. I don't really care much for platformers. It has to be like a specific kind of game for me to like a platformer.
Mm-hmm.
A 2D platformer, anyways. So my first real formative experience with Sonic games was none other than the titular Shadow the Hedgehog
Oh
on
god.
PlayStation 2. All you need to know about that game is the opening sequence. It tells you everything you need to know. Like, there is literally a spot in the game where he's like standing over like Shadow, over Sonic on a pile of rubble, and he like racks an MP5 like it's a shotgun. I shit you not. The
I
game is so over the top edgy. It is
I remember that.
like
That was a thing.
when I was a wee lad, of course, I thought it was like the coolest shit ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was just so nauseatingly over the top edgy. Now when I watch it, I can't do it without laughing. It's fucking hilarious. I cannot imagine what the experience was working on that game as a developer.
Like
I cannot imagine.
at the time, I'm pretty sure what was going through their heads was this is a game for kids, but at the same time, you know, kids deserve some kind of quality too. You know?
Oh well, very much. It very much came out in that time, the 2000s, where that whole brooding, dark, and edgy thing was popular.
Yeah.
So they were, like Hot Topic and Spencer's were surging in business and stuff. So they were very much trying to cash in on that. It was the perfect time to drop Shadow the Hedgehog, the standalone game.
Yeah.
But holy fuck, was it bad? It wasn't good then. Put it that way. It wasn't good then, and it definitely has not aged well.
Yeah.
It was not before nor after its time, or for its time.
So yeah, this is our introductory portion of our new podcast, Critical Analysis, only available on Bowiehunter on YouTube.com. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
And smack that bell icon! Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you mentioned on the first video that you had a degree. I don't remember if you said what level degree you got in writing.
It was a Bachelor's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing for Entertainment.
Well, there we go.
You could say I may know what I'm talking about. If you disagree with me, you're wrong and your opinion is wrong. You should shut up. And you are a barbarian and you don't understand my art. But you're also free to be entitled to that opinion. If you try to argue with me, I won't argue with you because I don't care.
But remember, you're an artist, so you can't have your art critiqued.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll get into what I'm referencing in a little bit, but
yeah.
That was fucking stupid.
I'm just gonna go tape a banana to a wall and make several $1 million. I'm a true artist.
Incidentally, do you remember how people were dressed when you were going to your college or university or whatever?
Yeah.
Did they happen to have? Were they happen to be wearing vests or nice sweater vests or the very?
No. It was too fucking hot for that. Most people typically wore, so you kind of had like 3 categories of clothing. Mm-hmm. You had the out-of-stater, your average out-of-stater, who was just sneakers, jeans, and a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
You had I come from the north part of the country, out-of-stater, flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt. which was me. And then you had your I'm a local, which was a hoodie, jeans, and sneakers most parts of the year. Occasionally, no hoodie. If you can't figure it out, I went to school in Florida. What was hot to me was cold to a lot of folks down there. You could, in very particular times of the year, like especially like I guess around this time of year, like November, October. Well, I guess I should say more like September, October. You could tell who was local and who was not because the locals were like bundling up like it was winter. And it's like 60 out, guys. Relax. You're not gonna freeze to death. It's actually nice out. And not like I am fucking drowning on the humidity out here.
So am I to understand that possibly JC the Hyena thinks live-in colleges are like fancy prep schools?
Who?
The author of this story, JC the Hyena.
Right. If that's how you think college is, he's dumb. I didn't even go to a regular college, but I can tell you that, like, people don't dress preppy for college. You're lucky if you get people to go to class in college. In traditional college, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not an unusual case for, like, a professor to be like, who are you? I'm in your class. I've never seen you in my life. It's like, well, I haven't shown up, so, you know. Still turning my work. I just haven't shown up. My college attendance is mandatory. You'd fail class if you didn't show up.
I guess they got tired of that.
Oh, well, my college, we did things a lot differently. Like, I got my bachelor in 2 years.
Really?
Well, 22 months, but yeah.
Damn.
Well, yeah, you'd be condensed to like 1 or 2 classes in a month.
Huh.
So, like, in order for that to like legally be okay to meet the requirements of a degree, you had to have good attendance. You could essentially afford to miss one class. If you missed more than that, you either had to work something out to make up for the hour differential, or you failed on attendance. And you had to retake the course. Now, the upside was you could retake the course once for free. Or it might have been more than once actually. But if you continued to fail, you would have to start paying for each additional time. But yeah.
My dog is apparently barking for my attention. I'm busy.
I'm gonna be that guy and say you're either gonna have to talk to yourself for a few minutes, or you're gonna have to cut this. Because I have to go to the bathroom.
Well,
My stomach has decided to rebel.
Go ahead.
And it has made the decision for me. I'm back.
I've prepared myself with water.
Perfect. I have a 2-liter of mug root beer.
Nice.
Not sponsored, by the way.
Well, you don't know that.
Oh, I mean, I'm not getting paid, so something you want to tell me, or
I wish I could get a sponsor. Like anyone would sponsor this. I mean, come on. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I've been noticing a trend this year. Fucking Amazon, Microsoft, and Disney have been buying basically everything.
So Monopoly Wars.
Yep. Exciting times in the year of 2020.
Well, you know, how else is Amazon going to spend all those extra billions of dollars they've made this year? But yeah, I think the best purchase of the year goes to Microsoft. One reason, bought Bethesda.
Yeah.
I'm sure those devs are shitting themselves because now they actually have to make a game.
Yeah.
Like they actually have to finish one rather than releasing Skyrim for the 17th time.
Yeah.
Or a shitty mobile Elder Scrolls title. And I hope to God Microsoft actually like makes them put out a game with a lot less bugs than what they normally do. Like actually put out a finished game.
I'm really one. It's enough to make me wonder how long Bethesda was gonna go on with releasing Skyrim titles, as opposed to actually working and finishing Elder Scrolls 6. Which, when was the first time people started talking about Elder Scrolls 6? I wasn't that like
2012,
yeah. What year are we in right now?
2020.
Okay. I just thought
Yeah,
I just wanted to double
been
check.
that long. You want to feel old? Skyrim came out November 11th, 2011. It's almost 10 years old. It's 9 years old this year.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That is a third over the typical development cycle of a game.
And there's still only
Well, I
one
wouldn't say
Skyrim.
typical. For a longer development cycle for a game. Most higher quality AAA games take around 6 years. That's why Halo releases were longer between their releases, because they typically had 6-year development time per game.
Yeah. And we're still only on Skyrim.
Through the whole process, that is, not just production.
Yeah.
I'm talking pre-production, production, post-production, everything. And, they could still put out the game. It could still be shit. I mean, look at Anthem.
Yeah.
That game was in the oven for 6 years. And it came out hot garbage.
There was a
Because
lot
for
of
2 of those years, well, for most of those years, they didn't know what game they were making. The devs didn't anyways. Flying was in and out of that game like 4 times before they finally decided to keep it in. Key feature, by the way. Let that sink in.
What were your thoughts
How
about
badly managed that game was.
What were your thoughts about Fallout 76?
Oh, why would I play a piece of broken software?
Fair enough. I remember watching I think it was a 2-hour review about
That,
Fallout
like,
76.
As soon as gameplay was out, I was like, nah, not touching it. I already have mixed feelings with Fallout as a franchise. My big issue with it is the game wants you to like be hopeful and like rebuild, essentially. Like it kind of has that vibe a little bit. You may not actually do rebuilding in the game. You don't have to engage in any of that kind of behavior, but it still tries to give you a reason to care in the franchise.
Yeah.
And my big issue with it is I struggle to care because you see how like blasted out all the land is. Nothing has recovered when plant life and stuff would be recovering by this point. Especially if you look at like Fallout 4, for example. You're 200 years after the bombs. The plant's more resilient than you think it is. Than a lot of people think it is. Mm-hmm. Radiation is bad, yes. But plant life and everything doesn't just like stop growing forever. I mean, look at Chernobyl.
Yeah.
It is overgrown with wildlife and flora and fauna and everything.
I will put a picture of Chernobyl.
Please do. I mean, it's kind of beautiful in a haunting kind of way.
Oh. Wow.
But when you look at the Fallout 4 landscape, it's just dead. You sit there and you look at it, and it's like, how does anything live here? And I get it. It's part of the Fallout aesthetic, but it's like, I played it for a bit. I did finish the main story, but I was just like, why do I care? Why should I care? Nobody else does. The place is blasted out. Like, why would anybody even stay here? Because according to them, like, the soil is ruined. You have, like, these rat-infected plant life that's growing. The water is still, like, heavily infected with radiation. So you can't, like, clean water is still a problem. Like, why would you live here? Why would you stay?
Yeah.
There's going to be other places where life is more sustainable and things are better. Even if, like, but that aside, Fallout is built on bad science as it is, which sure, that's fine. When you're playing in science fiction and you establish it's built on fake science, that's okay. So I'm willing to like have a level of verisimilitude and be like, okay, yeah, I will agree that your science is wonky and allow the landscape to be like this, for the sake of enjoying the story. But like once again, why stay here?
Yeah.
You can't tell me every part of the country is a blasted out wasteland. Like the majority of our high value targets are fairly spread out throughout the country, and most of them are on either coast. So, there's going to be areas where it's not a blasted out wasteland. Sure, it will have been affected by radiation and nuclear winter and stuff like that, but life bounces back, and every inch of things can't be infected to the point of decay. Because then, how is anybody alive?
Just look at Nagasaki.
Well, yeah, absolutely. So it's one of those things. Even using their fake science, it's like there should be better places to live. I haven't played a lot of it, but New Vegas, it works because it's a desert. It's a big, vast, empty place. It makes sense there.
Yeah.
Trying to say, yeah, here's this place with like all this forest and trees and stuff. Everything's dead now. It's like, could we not though?
I would like
Which, I did use a mod which like overgrew everything. Really tall grass, really thick bushes, fully grown trees and stuff. It made the place feel a lot more vibrant. And holy shit, slapped on some Vietnam classic radio mod on there. Whew. Felt like you were in Vietnam. Couldn't see more than 10 feet in any direction if you're off the beaten path. It's so much like, it was cool. It was cool like that. But then at the end of the day, you were still playing Fallout 4. So, I didn't play it for long after that.
I cannot play Fallout 4 for very long, but I would like I would like to know what year this picture was taken. Because the whole premise of Fallout is like hundreds of years or 200 years. And how long was...
Yeah, Fallout 4 was like 2 centuries.
Yeah, how long ago did Chernobyl bite the dust?
Not even a century. It was decades.
And now it's that overgrown.
I want to say it was like approaching 40, 50 years now. Chernobyl meltdown date. 1986. So yeah, we're approaching what?
That's
30 years.
That's
40
not
years,
long.
I think. I think I was right, yeah. Somewhere around 40.
Look how many trees are growing. Like, come on, Fallout.
Yeah. Nature be crazy, yeah. Guy ain't got time for your shit. Fucking humans. We're the disease. The earth is healing. Yeah, no, Fallout 76. I saw gameplay and I was like, nah, I'm out, fam.
Yeah.
Like, no NPCs. It's just a fucking grind for gear. There's no real objective. Just mindless side quest after mindless side quest. It's like they took everything I hate about open world RPGs and condensed it into a shitty online experience that doesn't work and has security issues. And they also tried to turn it into a cash cow.
Yeah. All right. The next topic. A side note. I remember editing the first video of this series.
Yeah.
I made some slight confusion. Remember the guy that I was complaining about with the 9 reasons of why he can't fucking be fucked to edit anything? He is not the author of this one Sonic Sonic.exe.
Okay.
I remember that I probably misheard someone asking whether or not this guy was the same author. And to clarify, no, this is not the same guy. JC the Hyena and Hai Kitsune are two different people.
Yeah, I think the writing would speak for itself in that case. Because that guy could not fucking spell things correctly to save his life.
There's so much wrong. I made a rant about that guy, and I don't know if I'm going to put it at the beginning of this or the end, because now we have all of that Achievement Hunter stuff. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that rant.
Just insert it now.
All right, you came back from that rant? Awesome. Here we go.
Yeah. God, you guys listen to videos really fast. I didn't even know it was even possible to comprehend at times 200 speed.
Hey, like that YouTube speed button really comes in handy sometimes.
Fuck that guy, though. What a piece of work, am I right?
After reading it while not under the influence of alcohol and actually reading through it the entire time, I just got more and more pissed off because his entire attitude towards the craft of writing a story just like it's
Well, that's what happens with a lot of people who they when they practice an art outside any art really outside of critique circles is and it's understandable, you know, when you take the time and effort to create something. It sucks when somebody comes in and says it's not good, you know. And a lot of people take it as a personal attack. And there are a lot of people who don't know how to give critique and they make it a personal attack.
Yeah.
So it's understandable to get defensive because you see it a lot. I mean, I saw it when I was going to school and we did workshop and we had people who took things as personal attacks, even when they were not, and they were distinctly not personal attacks.
Yeah.
It's just a natural defense mechanism because, well, you know, you put time into it and you care about it and you want people to like it, and then people don't like it, and that sucks. You know, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's more and more often to happen with younger folks because you know, especially teenagers, everything is the end of the world. You know, oh, they're not serving pizza today at the cafeteria. Apocalypse, life ruined. But yeah, so on that hand, I get it. But on the other hand, you know, there does come that point in time of like, okay, how seriously are you going to take this? You know, because there are people who use fan fiction or just posting stuff online that's original content as just a way to practice the craft. Or they just are doing it for fun and they still want it to be good quality. And they need that feedback because without feedback, you can't get better. I never would have gotten better if I never got feedback. My writing would have been atrocious. Looking at my writing before I went to school, my writing after I went to school, huge difference. If I never had the workshops that I had in school, I wouldn't have improved. You have to have it. And if you refuse to listen to people, well, you've doomed yourself to be shitty at writing forever. Granted, there will be people who will just say completely baseless stuff, or there will be people whose opinions don't matter. You know, if they turn around and somebody just says, "Yeah, it didn't work for me. I just didn't like it," and that's all they say, then that's it. I mean, there's nothing to worry about. You can't really sweat it because if they didn't like it, they didn't like it, and if they're not going to give you a reason why they didn't like it, it's not really worth talking to them about it. I mean, really, they shouldn't say anything at all if they're not going to say why they didn't like it. But
yeah,
I mean, it's the same reason why you have people who only read certain genres. Like I was talking about earlier, I don't like ghost movies. I think they're boring, but I'll read a ghost story. Like I just don't like ghost movies.
yeah.
That's it. Like So I just don't subject myself to it. I'm not going to subject myself to a ghost movie and then go write a review and be like, yeah, it was bad. No, I just didn't like it. This is just my opinion. I don't like ghost movies. So there's a difference between that and it's like, if now the opinions you should value is somebody who specifically doesn't like the genre but went out of their way to read it to give you critique and to tell you why it didn't work for them. Those are opinions you should value in that situation. Because they went in knowing that it's something they don't like and they still went through the entire thing. And then, of course, if they actually give you honest to God critique of like, I think this could have been done better for a better payoff, then listen to them. Because they're essentially telling you, I don't normally like this thing. Here's what you could have done that would have made me like it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can make them like it, when they normally don't like that kind of stuff, the people who do like that kind of stuff are going to love it. Because it'll be more impactful for them. Unless you start losing what the genre is.
Yeah.
Trying to appease other people. It's a balancing act. But you should definitely listen to people who even don't like the genre of what you're writing. If they're actually willing to give you honest critique.
Yeah. After
I had classes with people who would not. And who it blew up in their faces real bad in the last 2 months of class. They really shot themselves in the foot.
After I recorded my rant, I started thinking to myself, maybe this is a little uncalled for. Maybe I'm overreacting a little bit. But then I found that he's charging commissions on fan fiction for stories. So now he's charging money to write stories, and he's not going to put in the effort to try and edit them to give his readers some semblance of quality. And I just feel like that's a slap in the face to your readers. You're not going to be fucked to put in the kind of effort that someone might be expecting.
Yeah, so it's a twin-barreled problem. Because, like, all right, if somebody goes to that person knowing that they don't like to edit or whatever and pay them or whatever, or if they're going to go to this person, they're going to say, hey, I'm going to give you money to write this, you got to, like, make an effort to make it as high quality as you can. You're being paid. The shitty part of that is if you turn around and tell the person who paid you, no, I don't edit, after you've written it, and they say, hey, you need to fix this, then there's a problem. And honestly, anybody who went in knowing that was an issue with that person, I mean, they shouldn't have bothered in the first place to give them money.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, if I turn around and I commission somebody to write something, which I never would, because I can write. But if I did, I'd be upfront and be like, look, it needs to be like this quality, needs to be edited, all that. If you try to give me the product before it's, in a final state, I'm going to tell you to go back and fix it. And if you're not, I'm going to demand a refund. And that'll be that.
Yeah.
But I also wouldn't pay up front, so, I could get behind paying half up front and half when it's done. But I'm not going to pay full price up front. Not going to do that. I understand in the art world it may be different for, like, drawn art and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for writing work, nah.
Yeah, that whole situation is just it's a giant headache, and
yeah,
yeah.
I would only pay fully up front if I had high confidence in the person doing the writing.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of rants, I discovered in between episodes that this author JC the Hyena made a rant in response to criticism and the eventual removal of his original story from the creepypasta site. And it's I won't go into detail with it because it is it's over and done with. Like there was an interview too, and it said the entire ordeal is over. It's done with. He was just posting everything to show people, and I think it's really telling to see an author's response to criticism or the removal of their story. Now I get it. No one likes being told that they're wrong. No one likes seeing the story that they made be removed for something that they don't necessarily agree with. But at the same time, yeah, it's just telling. It's that's about all that I need to say. It's really, really telling.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to these kinds of things, there's a level of maturity that is expected, and the people who aren't going to be mature have a tendency of just, revealing themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So, although I kind of wonder what the original story was that got removed,
It was,
considering this is somebody who does Sonic fan stuff that is garbage but gets to stay.
well, it was the Sonic.Exe that we read.
Oh, okay, so that was what was removed.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you were saying it was like a totally original, like no ties to anything else. Like,
No.
okay. Sonic.Exe, that makes sense. It was bad. It's real bad.
Tying into that, speaking of the interview, reading through it, what do I start with? He said to the guy interviewing him that he was asked, what would you tell yourself during the writing of the original story? And he said, ease up on the cliches and stop and think, what would Lovecraft or King write? I would say since I never went to school for writing, this is my take on it. I would say don't do that, because you are the author. You're writing your story. You should think about what you would write, or at the very least, the character you're creating. You're creating that character. You should know how that character is thinking. So you should think, what would this character do in this situation? Never think what another author would write. It's okay to take inspiration, but don't write like them.
So, my take, it's a do and don't situation.
Mhm.
Because to say, completely disregard what other authors have done is not the best strategy. You don't want to imitate necessarily.
Yeah.
You do want to find your own style, because in the long run, it's harder on you to imitate somebody than it is to find your own style and stick with that. That said, there is something to be learned by looking at other authors, and that's a big part of the learning process for learning how to write as an art form.
Mm-hmm.
It's said over and over again, if you want to be a writer, you need to read, you need to consume content. You need to be consuming pieces of entertainment so that you can gain a better understanding of story structure and everything, and how that works, and how to execute things the right way, and how to avoid pitfalls. So to an extent, yes, if you aspire to write something, if you aspire to write horror similar to Lovecraft and King, or just in that general realm of ability, then absolutely you want to be reading Lovecraft, you want to be reading King, you want to see what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong. Because look, as great as King and Lovecraft and all them are, they have still made mistakes. They've still done things that people aren't like super into.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, King, for kind of sexualizing children a little bit. Kind of weird, not gonna lie. By kind of, I mean pretty sus, dude. Which I mean, there's a whole discussion there. I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
And there are same things that can be said about Lovecraft. I mean, there's a reason why he whiffed during his time alive as an author, and he surged in popularity afterwards, after his death. So they, as good as they are, there are pitfalls there, and if you're not careful, if you try to imitate them, you will end up making the same pitfalls. So you need to pay attention to what other authors are doing, and you need to try to find what works, what doesn't, and how, if possible, can I take that knowledge and merge it with my own style and all that. So it's not a terrible approach to have, to stop and say, would King do this? Would Lovecraft do this? However, it is by no means meant to be a golden standard to hold yourself to. Because if you forever hold yourself to a standard of another author, you're probably just going to like continuously disappoint yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to lead to a whole slew of issues.
Yeah. And I'm reading further down in the interview. He was asked about what inspirations he was using for the story that we're reading right now. So things to look for. He says Lovecraft, Stephen King, specifically It. So I'm guessing the clown, the Pennywise.
Okay.
Ben Drowned, because why not? Creepypasta. Got to get your Alex Hall reference in there.
Oh, man. I'm going to tell people this right now. Do not base your fiction, like your fan fiction especially, like your creepypastas and stuff, do not base it off of other creepypastas of questionable quality. You're shooting yourself in the foot. All right? There's a reason why it's creepypasta and not a New York Times best-selling book. Like, don't do that. You want to base it off of an author's style or a specific genre of horror, that's fine. But holy fuck, do not look to creepypasta for inspiration for your own creepypasta.
Now, to be fair, Ben Drowned is one of the better ones, but yeah.
Yeah, but part of that is, okay, you pick a good creepypasta. Now you're copying a creepypasta. You know what I mean? Like, sure, every story has been told, there's no such thing as an original thought, all that fun stuff. At the same time, though, if you're writing creepypasta, the people who are going to read it are the kind of people who read creepypasta regularly.
Mm-hmm.
If you fly too close to the sun, your wings are going to get burned off. People are going to notice, wait, this is a lot like Ben Drowned. And now you're that guy who copied Ben Drowned.
All right, so Lovecraft, King, fucking Ben Drowned, the Werehog and Dark Sonic for character design, because we know what those guys look like.
Oh my god. For a second, you said Werehog and Sonic. I was like, what the actual fuck? And then I remembered there was that one Sonic game, so never mind. I was like, alright, yeah, no, that's canon.
Yeah. Yeah.
That exists. It's a real thing they did.
And maybe a bit of Saw. So the things that we're going to look for, Lovecraft,
No.
King, Saw.
No. You don't get to casually just throw Saw in with all that. You don't, nah. Saw is a very specific type of thing.
Saw is very easy to pick out, too.
Well, yeah, like, you can't mix something like it with Saw. I'm sorry, you can't. Like okay. I'm sure there'll be somebody who'll be like, "Oh, well, you can." And sure, I would argue that technically, yes, you can. But at this writing level, I'm going to tell you right now, you cannot. Somebody who's writing objectively bad creepypasta cannot. It requires a level of delicate touch and blending of genres that is just not going to be attained in this level of fan fiction.
Yeah.
And it's mostly because it flies in the face of what the genre is. Yes, they're both horror, but they're different kinds of horror. Saw is body horror, which is kind of its own subgenre. Saw is mainly a thriller. It is not mainly a horror. It is a thriller with body horror as a subgenre.
Yeah.
Because the thing that makes it frightening is the things the people have to do to their own bodies. That is the horror aspect. That is body horror. Body horror doesn't always have to be self-inflicted, but it's about doing things to the human body that is going to make you squirm in your chair.
Yeah.
But Saw is ultimately a thriller. I mean, you think about Saw. Think about all of like the most impactful scenes in Saw. It's not the body horror. Like, sure, it has an impact. But the scenes you probably remember the most are the moments leading up to the horror. Not the horror itself, the moments leading up to it. That is what makes it a thriller. That is the difference between thriller and horror, is moments leading up to the events happening and that high tension. Horror makes use of that tension, but it's not just about the tension. It's the consequences of the actions that happen at the end of the tension. Thriller is all about the constant build of tension. And the payoff that provides. It is a creature feature horror. You could kind of argue it's also Ghost, but it's because it's like there's overlap because it is a demon. So there's kind of overlap with the Ghost genre there. It's paranormal horror, but at the end of the day, as far as I'm concerned, it's a creature feature. That's what I call it. Big Bad is an inhuman thing that is evil and wants to kill/eat people. Creature feature doing Saw things is you're getting out there. Because creature features are typically about the creature itself, what its abilities are, what are its strengths and weaknesses, and it's kind of hard to get that while doing Saw.
Yeah.
You would have to the creature would have to be something with like mind control powers that are forcing people to do stuff like they do in Saw to kind of like genuinely get that mixture. And I don't see that happening here.
Oh, no. Well, maybe. Well, I don't know. That's the thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen here. With all the other creepypastas we've read, I don't think it's going to happen here.
So, yeah. Lovecraft King, Saw, fucking other creepypastas.
Yeah.
So those are the things keep an eye out for. And we'll call them out when we see them. We'll do everything.
Yeah,
like we usually do.
Trying to reduce how much I do this, but I am sick, so I will cough and such occasionally. If it's like going to be particularly bad, I will try to mute myself.
Fair enough. Kind of a topical question.
Yeah.
Because it's important to story writing. Did going through school, not only college but the high school level, did teachers ever say why they assigned research papers? I don't remember.
I'm trying to remember what research papers I did in high school. I know in high school they were typically the papers we had to do were because of standardized tests.
Mm.
We had to prove we were able to do like essays and stuff of particular kinds
Mm.
for academic purposes. So we had to be able to write cause and effect papers.
Mm.
I don't remember having to like do research papers for the sake of researching a subject. I think they were mostly for the academic proof of concept that we were able to do it for the sake of taking standardized tests and SATs and stuff.
Mm.
At least that's how it was because I was in AP classes. Now, in college, I didn't have a ton of really long papers. I had to write a few papers throughout my time
Mm-hmm.
there. I couldn't tell you how many. It was quite a few though. Like it wasn't uncommon for us to be assigned a paper, but they were rarely terribly long.
Mm-hmm.
I think the longest one I had to do was like 5 pages, maybe. Most were like 2 or 3. Um, and they were typically on a particular subject. Like I know one of the longer ones I had to do was a 4-page piece on. It was in ironically enough, a game writing class, talking about narrative in games, and our teacher had us cover the Mass Effect franchise and the debacle over the ending of the 3rd game.
Ooh,
Uh,
spicy.
for any people who know me, I am a huge Mass Effect nerd. I was there, so to speak. It's an older meme, sir, but it checks out. So that was an easy paper to write. And in my resources, I actually put the meme in there. I was there as like my final resource. I had all the other required resources, but I threw the meme in there for fun. Got a laugh out of the teacher. He was a pretty fun dude. But yeah, like in college, most of them were like subject based on a particular thing. Like I know from time to time we had to talk about genre stuff. And I will say not all of them were fact based. A good number of them were also like opinion based, where we had to state our opinion and defend it with reasoning. And I think part of that was to like enhance our workshopping skills.
Hmm.
You know, because that's what a lot of workshopping is you are, while you do point out technical stuff, you do present your opinion on something and have to defend it to some extent.
Yeah.
So
I think I think it would be a good thing to implement or stress an importance of getting used to the idea of researching a topic by itself, like
oh,
for
absolutely.
researching. I
Let,
don't.
let me tell you the importance of research. All right. So one of my classes, not a paper, one of my classes, we had to do world building for a film.
Mhm.
Essentially, we had to pitch a film idea to the teacher, and then we had to create a PowerPoint where we did research for major things we needed to know. Like we had an assignment where we had to identify the things we had to research to help support the production of this film and the narrative and everything, so everything made sense within the world for that narrative. We had a student in our class who, in her power, she pitched this story of like a so for frame of reference, this was at the time where the new Mad Max movie had come out.
Mhm.
So she had pitched a Mad Max-esque world where it's all desert, all the water is gone, the whole shebang, and all this other apocalypse stuff going on, and some other tidbits here and there that weren't important.
Mm-hmm.
So, as part of her research, she needed to say why the water was gone. Instead of, coming up with something rational, she decided she had to research, I think she said geography or geology or something.
Mm-hmm.
And her explanation was that the tectonic plates shifted and all the water slipped between the cracks and evaporated into the core of the planet. With a straight face, she was dead serious. All the water went between the cracks in the tectonic plates. If you have any basic level of science knowledge from literally public school level education, you would understand that tectonic plates are never flush against one another. They are cracked for a reason. They do not perfectly fit together. There are gaps. Yes, water slips in there and it boils. You know what happens when water boils? It turns to gas. What happens to gas? It rises. Where does it go? The atmosphere. What happens when it's in the atmosphere? It eventually condensates and rains back down onto the planet as water once more. We've had the same amount of water on this planet for millennia. Countless ages. Because of this. So I was that guy at the end of her presentation. Nobody else was asking any questions. I looked at the teacher. He was waiting to see if students were going to ask questions. And I was like, fuck it. I'm going to be the guy. So I raised my hand. She's like, yeah. I'm like, so how much research did you actually do? And of course, everybody in the classroom's like, oh shit, here we go. And she's up there like a deer in headlights, like, oh shit. I'm like, because that's not how tectonic plates work at all. I'm like, I get it. You're trying to come up with a reason for the water to be gone, but you're going to have to do better than slip between tectonic plates because that's not how it works. Embarrassed her in front of the entire class. Was it cruel? Was it a dick move? Absolutely. But holy shit. Like, it was the most basic level of research she had to do. Like, literally all she had to do was look up tectonic plates, and she didn't do it.
Was it an honorable death? Mm.
No, she hadn't done anything to earn any honor yet. Kind of just went out on the field and died. Yeah, I don't think she got a good grade on that assignment, because after I asked that question, the teacher then grilled her for like 5 to 10 minutes with other questions. I might have been that guy, but he annihilated her. Because I only asked the one question. He had her on like 12. I was like, ooh. It was one of those things where it's like, she's already dead.
So, yeah, audience, the moral of the story is, please research your story before you write it.
Do your fucking research, you fucking clown.
That was good.
Do not be that person.
That was good. I'm writing that down. Tectonic plates shifted. Water slipped between and evaporate. Okay.
I was dumbfounded. I said, like, the rest of the presentation, I could not stop thinking about it because it was like one of the first couple slides. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I just zoned out for most of it, like trying to do the mental gymnastics of how you rationalize that. I just couldn't do it. It shows how important it is to pay attention in school, kids.
So, I'm using a new recording setup for this because the last time I had to do so much with the audio with balancing levels just to make all three of us audible. So I'm using this new thing. I already did a sound test. It sounds great. It's fine. The problem is I don't know how to read this recording timer. So I don't know if we've been going for an hour and 25 minutes or we've just been going for 25 minutes, but
No, it's definitely been an hour and 25.
alrighty. Okay, so at an
I
hour
can tell
so at an hour and 25 minutes, the main characters of this anime are Tom, the detectives, Derek and Sarah. And that's it for now because Kyle's dead and fuck Tom's friends because they're not human.
anime.
Spoiler alert.
I need a link, by the way.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And the amount of screenshots that we've been sending. I forgot the one
I
important
need-
thing.
I need yakety sax in the background.
Copy. Link.
I saw one of the best voice reveals ever of all time.
What's that?
A VR chat streamer who
Uh-oh.
he's been mute for ages. I think it's like Big Boy is his name or whatever.
Uh-huh.
He was so was it Domaniac? He just did a voice reveal, and so he's talking to Big Boy, and Big Boy's sitting there like, "Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I wish I was brave like you. You know, you have such a good voice, and you got the accent going for you." They're sitting there like shooting the shit, and one of the other people in the room is just like, you're unmuted." So he pretended to freak out and throw himself off the top of a building. It was pretty great. It was all about it. I'm like, that's how you do a voice reveal.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, I think that wraps up our introductory phase of today's critical analysis. So, this will be our last call for any restroom breaks before we get started. Alright. I grabbed a singular Skittle.
A singular Skittle?
Yes.
All right.
One Skittle. That's all I need.
Weird. Weird flex, but okay.
I guess all that's left to do is start part 3 then.
Oh my fucking god, it's so...
Well, it's
Jesus Christ.
It's okay. It's only 68 paragraphs.
Yeah, could we read something fun after this? Like... Warhammer 50,000?
What games do I have that you have?
There's a pretty good Warhammer fan fiction out there called Warhammer 50,000. The Age of What Is to Come, I think. I'll look it up.
Let's see.
Oh, The Shape of the Nightmare to Come. That's right. There's a pretty good short introduction to it.
1D4.
And then there's a whole collection of things that happen. It's better if you know some of 40K going in and having an idea of what's going on in 40K, but it's still a pretty good read.
I do
because
not.
if you're not familiar with Warhammer, it's grim dark, the genre. Everything sucks. But the setting has kind of been stagnant because nothing progresses. So somebody did a speculative fiction piece of how things could potentially progress and become worse. And it's about the galaxy the galaxy just kind of slowly crumbling away. And there's supposedly a sequel to it called The Age of Dust, which is 60,000, I think.
Yeah. It says continued in 60K Age of Dust.
Yeah.
Wow, are these all the chapters in this hypothetical book?
Yeah, it's not so much of a book, it's just like a fan made thing. Dude went hardcore into it, and people were really into it.
I can see.
Yeah.
Well, it's not short, but it's not too long, which is
Oh yeah, it would
okay.
definitely be like something of like it's gonna have to be a little bit of a series to cover.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose we could do that. Sure.
Ooh.
The-
I've
the-
actually read it to people before, the introduction anyways, the overview.
Oh, let me check and see. What Warhammer games do I have? So I have some relevant content to put in the background of that.
If you like strategy games, you get Total War.
I have Space
Takes
Marine.
place in the fantasy. Space Marine was pretty good. I didn't play much of it. I don't have it on PC, but yeah, Space Marine's fun.
I have Space Marine and I have the two Vermintides. So
Vermintide is also pretty good.
yeah. So
Takes place in a different setting though. It's in the old world fantasy setting, which is different from 40K.
Well, either way, I do have Warhammer content to put in the background, so yeah, I see no reason why we can't do that.
Good.
But we got to get through this first.
Sonic. No, there's chapters in this. They're just very short chapters.
I would more classify them as parts.
Yeah, there's
Because
like no real
because at the end-
definitive definition of what constitutes a chapter.
Yeah, because at the end he says end of chapter 1. So I'm just going off of... Because in my mind it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have chapter 1-3. It just makes it easier for me to keep track.
1-3. What?
Yeah, because this is all chapter 1 according to him. For reasons.
If he's calling all of this chapter 1, why does he have chapter headers?
Like I said, I think they're supposed to be parts to like section
Some-
them off.
Some
From each
real
other.
smooth brain hours.
Actually, before we start, let me see if he actually bothered with chapter 2. My theory is that he started writing this and then ran out of ideas.
The top comment from 2 days ago.
Uh-oh. I'm not...
It just says, I'm not reading all of this. Somebody came to this page, scrolled through all of it, and then wrote a comment saying, nah, fam, I'm not.
That's amazing.
Good choice, brother, good choice.
Because I'm not on the webpage. I actually made the mistake of downloading the whole entire thing.
Jesus Christ, these comments.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, somebody wrote too much. They care too much.
And then someone wrote more.
Yeah. These comments, man, are fucking degenerate. Save the rest of that for the end.
Yeah.
That one, though, God, killed me.
I'm not reading it.
That's gold.
We salute you,
That's fucking
sir.
gold. Yeah.
Where am I gonna save that? Because I'm gonna screen cap that.
Here's your thumbnail. I'm not reading this.
You know what? That's a good idea. Oh, I forgot about this. I didn't put this in my notes for my introduction, but I love that this just seeing this picture has reminded me of it. I like how in the first story he wrote all this stuff about hyper realistic and how Sonic had hyper realistic fur and all of this.
Yeah.
And then someone made a game and apparently remade a ending screen to kind of symbolize that, and the best that they could do with hyper realistic picture was that.
The new Sonic CG. All right.
That
Yeah,
was the
okay.
best they could come up with.
Oh wow.
For the hyper realistic Sonic with red and black and blood.
That's gonna be a yikes for me, dog.
Alright, I am going to save that in my special critical analysis folder in my storage device. What should I call it? I'm not reading all of this. Okay, there we go. I think we're now ready.
That's where these will ever be.
Fair enough. Oh, wait.
Which is not at all.
Chapter 2? I do not see a chapter 2, so this was all he wrote. That's all she wrote, fam.
I'm just gonna listen to Doom Crossing Eternal Horizons in the background.
Tom picked up the game disc and looked at it for several minutes as he sat back down in front of his laptop. Since Kyle's laptop was still at 11% power, there was no way Tom could see the game downloaded on it. So he had only his own to rely on.
Where are you reading this from?
It is part 3, the very first. It should...
Oh, okay.
There it is.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Don't worry, you didn't miss much.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts so bad. Oh, fuck. Alright. I don't... Picked up the game disc, looked it over, and... Why...
What do we gain from that?
I don't... I'm trying to understand. Still at 11% power, there's no way Tom could see the game downloaded on it. So he had only his own to rely on.
So does he think that the computer is powered off when it's still at 11%? The computer is still functional when it's at 11% battery power.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, why can't you see what game is on there at 11%? Like, you don't have to, like, boot up the game or anything. You literally have to put the disc in and just check it.
Oh, wait. Okay, I think I understand what he's trying to say. Kyle's laptop was at 11%. Even though he probably wasn't going to use it anyway because the screen's fucking cracked. So there's no way for Tom to see the game that is downloaded on Kyle's laptop. Tom has to use Tom's own laptop to see the game.
The problem is the screen is cracked. Why is he pointing out that it's at 11% power? Because the way it's structured now, the problem is that it's at 11% power, which is preventing him from seeing the game that's downloaded on it. But that's bullshit. Because that means it has power, so you can see the game that's downloaded on it.
Except you
So
probably
if the problem
can't...
is the screen is cracked,
Yeah,
then say the screen is cracked. But we already know that. So I hate this.
Like, if you were going to remind us that there's a reason why Tom can't see the game on Kyle's laptop, be it for the reason that would actually inhibit one's ability to see something on the computer desktop, not the fucking battery power.
This is why God left.
Like, you already established that the screen was cracked. You literally forgot about the thing that you established, author.
You've got to assume some level of competency for the audience. You have to.
He opened CD drive and placed the disc in, closing the drive and waited. Closed the drive and waited for the installing notification to show up. After a few minutes, the notification appeared on the screen.
Yeah, it's a Tencent issue. It's a common thing for a lot of writers starting out to do, and I still do it from time to time too, because of the way I write.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't write at a constant pace. I like stop and think consistently, and so it causes me to have Tencent issues from time to time. But that's why that doesn't sound right. He opened the CD drive and placed the disc in the past. Closing the drive and waited. Closing the drive applies to present tense. But what's happening is in the past, but he's acting in the present. So it's creating a confliction of when things are happening. It makes it sound wrong.
Yeah. Grammatically, that's a no-go. Don't do that.
Really? The real problem here, though, aside from that, don't need a fucking play-by-play. You put the CD in the laptop. Great. Moving on.
And now Tom opened a CD drive, he placed the disc in, and now he is closing the drive.
Like, we understand how a laptop works. You don't have to give us the play-by-play. Just tell us you put the CD in. That's all we need to know.
And now Tom is closing the CD drive in what he hopes to be a game disc.
Like, the only reason you need to put that elaborate detail in is when there's high tension. You know? Yeah. It's like in movies, right? Like, you imagine a scene where, say, supposedly this tape has, you know, the evidence of a paranormal creature or whatever. That's the scene in the movie where, you know, the camera zooms in on their hands holding the tape, and they're slowly, with like shaking hands, pushing the tape into the VHS and, you know, hitting the rewind and the play button. And then you have that moment of static on the TV, and then you hear the click and the whir, and then it starts to play the tape. That's when you give us the play-by-play details, because it's a tense scene. You know what's coming, but you're afraid of what you're going to see.
Mm-hmm.
This is just... He put the CD in the fucking laptop, okay? God damn it. It doesn't work here. There's no tension. Just put it in. Just stick it in.
No, there's clearly tension.
It's not.
We just can't see it. We're not big brain enough. It's okay.
I'm not smooth brain enough, you mean?
Do you want to install Sonic.Exe? Sonic.Exe? Huh, we're Solid Snake now.
This is where the story completely ends. He clicks no. Like, obviously a virus. Clicks no, trashes the CD.
Tom read the name again to see if it was correct. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that would be the correct choice here.
Yes, it would.
You don't hit yes on random EXEs.
Fuck no. He felt a small twinge of disbelief creeping up within himself. Really? The really wonderful, never-before-seen video game Kyle had found and spent weeks playing before he died was a Sonic the Hedgehog game?
Imagine trashing your own favorite franchise like this.
Right? Like
He
this.
spent the last days of his life playing a fucking hedgehog game. What a fucking loser.
Yeah, like we already established Tom was a diehard Sonic fan, so why would he be reacting this way?
Like, I mean, there's a lot of Sonic fans out there who do trash the games, so, you know.
Well, fair
All
enough.
spare in love and war. But, goddamn.
I love Sonic, just like everyone else. Why the fuck was he spending weeks playing a Sonic the Hedgehog game?
When won't you people learn that your actions have consequences?
Don't do that, man. You're dying.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Tom felt his anger rising, but he suppressed it. He couldn't bring himself to curse his friend for such stupidity. And who knows?
He should have played Mass Effect.
He should have played Mass Effect. Maybe he should have played Soma.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom was being too quick to judge this game. Much like everyone else. Imagine if that was in there.
Imagine trash talking a Sonic game and saying, "Oh, it must be good if he, died after playing it." You know?
Willing to give the benefit of the doubt in honor of his friend, Tom clicked yes.
We know his name is Tom. You don't have to say Tom every sentence.
I was about
You
to
can
say that.
Sprinkle some he's in there.
I just noticed that.
Yeah. It's one of those things where when you're writing, to an extent, you want to avoid repetition. There are some words and stuff that our brains just kind of filter out because they're used so much, like A's and does and stuff like that. But when it comes to pronouns and stuff, you need to play a little bit of a balancing act. Because like this, where you're using Tom every sentence, it starts to get repetitive. Maybe Tom was being too quick to judge this game. Willing to give it the benefit of the doubt in honor of his friend, Tom clicked yes. Tom went through the process. Tom did this. Tom did that. It starts to get a little exhaustive. So it's something where you want to sprinkle in different pronouns and stuff there, or just write sentences that don't require there to be a pronoun immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spread it out. You want to have a good flow. That's why I advise people to an extent, write how you speak. To an extent. Obviously, you still want to write in a narratively conducive manner, but at the same time, if you actually write as if you are telling a story, it helps.
Mm-hmm.
It feels more natural. There are pitfalls to that, though, so be careful if you're actually taking that as advice.
Yes. A standard installation wizard popped up for Sonic.Exe. And Tom went through the process. This is tension. I want you to understand this. This is tension right here.
I'm so tense, dude.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
I'm quivering.
He directed...
my balls are quivering.
He directed... God damn it. Want to get another one in, or...
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. He directed the game files to program files. Terrible decision. That is a terrible decision. Why the fuck would you do that? Windows has an issue with holding on to game files. So if you try to uninstall something, sometimes Windows might have a problem and say, no, we need this to make sure your system is running, and it won't let you uninstall it. So, you know what? Actually, that probably worked out for him. That's why you can't uninstall the game, you fucking idiot.
What I want to know is, why does this matter?
It doesn't, but... moving
exactly.
on.
Why does this matter to the narrative? Why does it matter that the game files are in program files with a thumbnail on his desktop? And why does it matter? First of all, why does this game have a terms of agreement?
Well, just to
First Sonic game has a terms of agreement? Yes, I agreed. Let Sonic kill me.
Yeah, you gotta get permission first. Come on.
Why does any of that matter? Why
we
do we
are
need to
civil.
know any of that?
We're civil, okay?
What would have been better is if it skipped all that and then like specifically said there was no terms of agreement. There was no like, oh, approval for the install path or whatever. That would have created tension because anybody who understands installing the game, which people who read this will probably do, it will stick out as weird that it doesn't function correctly. This is how you correctly defy expectations. You assume competency in the reader and expect them to catch on. If they don't catch on, it's not the end of the world. But you have things operate in ways they're not expected to operate, in small but significant ways. If it didn't ask for an install path and just automatically installed, it didn't ask for you to click accept on terms of agreement, all that stuff, anybody who installs games will know, like, okay, wait a minute, there's something going on here. Granted, people going in are going to know that, but still.
Yeah.
That's a better way to create tension than whatever the fuck this is.
Checked added thumbnail when it says top. Of course, agreed to terms agreement. The window changed into the progress bar. After several minutes, it was at 1%. I know laptops are crap, but they're not that slow.
Me trying to install Baldur's Gate the other night.
Fucking Christ, man.
So it wasn't downloading at first,
Yeah.
as a quick aside, and
What'd you do?
so I was like, okay, maybe my Steam is just funky. So I cleared the cache and then went to restart Steam. Went to sign in. I couldn't sign in because the servers were crashing because of the flow of people trying to download Baldur's Gate 3. And I started the download and it told me it was going to take like days to finish. Took me like, I want to say like 12 hours. Not 12 hours, no, it's like 8 or 9.
Yeah, never take Steam's estimated download time as long.
Oh yeah, no. It bounces all over the place,
Oh, yeah.
depending on your own download rate and how other factors.
Yeah. Realizing it was going to be a while until the game had fully installed, Tom decided to order some takeout and watch a movie. While the game was installing, he went on to Domino's website, made his order, a medium-sized pie with green peppers, bacon, and a 2-liter of Coke, and then went to his couch and turned on his TV to search for a movie on Netflix.
What a waste of a paragraph. What a waste of a paragraph. How many words is that? What a waste. All these words to say nothing. 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 Hang on, let's see here. Word counter. 75 words. Imagine you're getting paid by the word. You have to write a short story, okay? You're being paid by the word. And you have to create a quality short story in order to get paid and to have your short story featured in like a magazine or whatever. And let's say your short story has to be 500 words. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You've now wasted almost a fifth of your budget, essentially, your word budget, saying nothing at all. That's what a lot of people need to realize. A lot of what makes quality writing is saying as much as possible with as few words as possible. So when you write shorter fiction, and then you waste words on some bullshit like this, your writing's bad. He just spent 75 words saying nothing. Like, there's no arguing it. But, like, what's the purpose? To humanize Tom? It's not humanizing Tom. just shows that Tom has basic, simple needs, and that he had time to waste.
Yeah, and
Like,
let's say let's say that this is like being charged for like being a commission thing too, right? So you said 500 words. Let's take maybe 3 cents per word, right?
yeah,
Let's just for a
75
round,
words.
yeah, for a round number, 3 cents times 0. Okay, my calculator is fucked. 3 cents times 500 words. That's $150 for 3 cents per word. So 3 cents times 75. So that's 75 words. It's $22 out of that. What number did I say? 100 something.
Hang on. I think your math might be off.
It might be off.
Yeah. 3 cents times 75 words is 2.25. So $2.25.
All right.
Would you pay somebody $2.25 to write that paragraph? If you were paying, $15 for 500 word little short story, would you want almost 1/5 of your story to be that paragraph?
And to be a play-by-play that it's something was going too slow, so he went on his computer, ordered some food, decided, hey, I'm bored, I'm gonna go watch a movie. Sits down on the TV, starts watching a movie. That's wasted space.
If your writing has this in it and you're trying to get paid, you're not going to get paid. This is the kind of stuff where if I'm reading this for fun, I'm skipping this paragraph. Like, I don't have time to waste reading this pointless shit. It's not relevant to the story at all. Like, aside from just the waste of the word count, it's just not relevant. It doesn't matter. It adds nothing. Removing it subtracts nothing. Why? Like, for the sake of the story, why does it matter that it takes time for the thing to install? Why is it important? We could skip right to it being installed, and we would lose out on nothing. More than likely, I haven't read paragraphs ahead, but I'm assuming like we're not really going to miss anything.
Yeah, we're not. Oh, but he brings
So
back he brings back the colors.
Great. Just what I wanted to hear.
Kind of. It's just one color. It's okay. Where was I? Oh, there.
At the end of that paragraph, yeah.
Thank God. After the delivery man came and Tom got his pizza, he selected the Dark Knight and just enjoyed himself as he waited for the game to install.
Enjoy himself. There's no mention of Pornhub.
As soon as the movie reached the scene where, dude, spoilers. Damn.
I mean, who cares? Why does this matter? This isn't relevant to the story. We get it. You like the Dark Knight. What the fuck ever. Get out of here.
Where the Joker started to manipulate Two-Face, Tom's computer had suddenly went black. It had shut down. Tom heard the faint clicking noise that indicated its shutdown, and he turned his head to see the black screen. Pausing the movie, he got up to investigate. It didn't seem to have overheated or anything, so he assumed it was one of those kinds of games that required a restart before installation was complete. So that's common for some specific programs and applications that affect a part of the operating system in one way or another. Or it could be because of software updates and there's a change that just it won't take effect unless the system restarts. This isn't typically a thing that happens with games, though. They tend to be okay after they're done installing. You can just start them up, play.
Yeah.
You would know this if you researched, but
In the previous paragraph, we were saying Tom's computer suddenly went black. It had shut down. Tom heard the faint clicking noise that indicated it shut down, and he turned his head to see the black screen. It's like a literally mirrored repetition.
yep.
Screen went black. It shut down.
He turned his head. The screen is
It
black.
shut down. The screen is black. Like, it's wasting just so much words. Like, so let's see here. Here we go. Let's take this, all this. Yeah, here we go. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll give them the last sentence of that paragraph. So we're at a point now where we've wasted 159 words.
Yay.
159 words of nothing. It just doesn't matter. It's completely irrelevant. Or a waste. I could probably go by sentence too and like start cutting things and putting in like better verbiage and stuff, but like just raw off of what's here. Yeah, it's just fucking shit.
Just off of the
just a
length.
waste. Yeah.
Just off of the length of the entire thing, I would say scrap it. Try again
Yeah.
from scratch.
There's probably, throughout this entire thing, there's probably just so much padding that doesn't need to be here. Like, you could probably take out a significant fraction of the story and nothing will be changed.
Mm-hmm.
The other annoying thing is he says he investigates the computer, but it doesn't say how he investigates it to determine that it's overheated. Granted, we don't need all of that.
Like,
But
even...
it's just like, I don't know. It's just so poorly written because it's like it assumes the reader doesn't understand anything about computers, so it's like, oh, maybe it's one of those games that requires a restart or whatever.
It's like, that doesn't happen, but okay.
Like, it's one of those things I'm willing to let it slide, but at the same time, it's like clearly he's like, okay, this is a little suspicious. Also, just overall not a fan of how this is written. Where it's like, it's in Tom's head, but it's not at the same time. It's this really weird narration.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all we can say at the end of the day is just, yeah.
Yeah.
He waited for the computer to start back up. Well, it's shut down. It won't start back up. You just pressed a button. And when it didn't, Tom grew restless. Well, push the button and you'll stop being restless. It'll start up. Surely, his computer didn't experience an error or a virus installing the game, did it?
That's it. We solved it. It's a virus.
After
If you installed
immediately...
me, that was suspicious.
After immediately pressing the power button, he let out a sigh of relief when it turned back on, and after a couple of minutes, no response.
So that's shittily done. After immediately pressing the power button. Immediately pressing the power button in response to what?
Seeing
You get
that
what
it
I'm
wasn't-
saying?
Yeah, seeing that it wasn't turning on, but
Except he didn't do it immediately. He investigated.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying? Like, he's got tensing and like time issues going on.
I think
He should have just said he let out a sigh of relief when it turned back on when he pressed the power button. You know, that would have saved so many words and would have done the same thing.
Yeah, he was trying to say that he fucking hell. He pressed the power button. It turned on. And immediately after he saw it turn on, he let out a sigh of relief. But fucking hell.
Yeah. There's a way to write it to be more clear and concise
Yeah.
with a lot less words.
Yeah. Remember those like Venn diagrams that we had to use in like elementary school, middle school, all the way up to through high school in
Yeah.
writing a story? The most basic thing ever. How to have a telltale sign that this probably didn't happen. The story.
Yeah.
He just sat at a computer and slapped his hands on the keyboard a couple of times, and this is the result. Yes. Turned it back on after a couple of minutes, no response. What does that mean?
I don't know.
Like, as far as this is concerned, the computer turned back on. He waited for the computer to start back up, so now it's off again. Somehow. Couple of minutes of no response doesn't mean that the computer turned back off. You say it turned on, and then it turned back off for no reason.
Yeah, if it's turned on, it should be doing something. But there's no description of it like freezing or anything like that. So it's in a state of doing nothing when it should be doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's doing both at the same time in a weird way.
And apparently it
And
turns
it's like,
off.
I wouldn't say use start back up. I would say to wait for the computer to boot up.
Mm-hmm.
Like there could be a more concise use, a more accurate use of verbiage here, just to make things clear of what's going on. But there's also, I feel like, a lot of needless explanation going on at the same time that you could just skip. Like, ooh, signed back in and checked his desktop.
He waited for the computer to start back up, signed back in, and checked his desktop. There, he saw
Also,
it. Yes.
use commas correctly, dude. Fucking Christ. I see this so much. You're making a list, okay? When you make a list, you have to produce a comma for each item up until the end.
Yes. How many
It's
commas?
not
How many
signed
commas?
back in and checked his desktop. It's he waited for the computer to start back up, comma, signed back in, comma, and checked his desktop.
How many
Because
commas?
you're creating a list of actions, so it should be 2 commas for that sentence.
How many commas do we see?
There's only the one in there right now
Yep.
for that sentence. Also, the better way to word this for that as a list is once the computer... A better way to do it would have just been once the computer booted up, he signed back in and checked his desktop. You wouldn't even need any commas for that. Or I guess you could put one in there, because you could say that the start of the sentence is like an interjection of sorts.
Yeah.
But like, just fucking do things right. There's so often where I see people do lists and they only put 1 comma when it's a 3-item list. It's like, no, it's a 3-item list. You need 2 commas.
I was about to make the mistake of saying if he was going to split it up in those 2 halves like he has, then semicolon. But no.
Oh my god.
I'm smarter than that. I know that's not how you use a semicolon, so I stopped myself. It's
I'm gonna tell you
okay.
right now, if you think you need to use a semicolon, you probably don't, because you probably don't understand how a semicolon works. So I'll tell you right now, most of the time, I don't know when to put a semicolon in. Like, most of the time, if you think you need to use a semicolon, you don't. 9 times out of 10, you do not need a semicolon. I had a class with somebody who used semicolons all the time, and the teacher grilled them for it. They're like, you used a semicolon like 15 times in these 10,000 words. You do not need a semicolon that much.
for those of you who are curious, a semicolon, it is a punctuation mark, in case you didn't know. It indicates a pause, but it's between two main clauses. Usually, those two clauses are not disconnected from each other, but they're two separate ideas.
Yep. It most of the time, if grammatically a semicolon is called for, you do not need it, because realistically, they should be in their own sentences rather than connected by a semicolon.
Mm-hmm. But let's say you have a sentence and a sentence fragment. In that case, it could work, but still you probably shouldn't. You should just make that fragment longer.
Yeah.
But
you really should avoid a semicolon. That's why you never need one.
Yeah, but you could get away with it.
Yeah, you could, but you should try your best to avoid them.
Mm-hmm. I am drinking so much water. I am so happy. I'm proud of myself.
I'm not.
Well,
I'm drinking root beer.
Well, does it have ice in it?
No. It's a 2-liter bottle, dude.
Dude, cut a hole in the top, throw some ice in it. It's okay.
No!
Just
Say it's all watered down and gross.
Where was I? Fucking where? Really? I keep losing my place.
There he saw it.
There he saw it. Sitting at the very center of his desktop was an icon that appeared to be a black X. There wasn't a name anywhere under it. He right-clicked to check on the properties. He was rather surprised to see that there is literally nothing there. No type of file, no description, not even anything describing the location, size, or even the dates of when it was created. Now see, that would be a out of place thing. However, you done goofed yourself because the title of your own story is Sonic.Exe. Spoiler alert, that's a file type. So it does have a type of file. It's just not listing it.
It should have read as an executable and as a shortcut. And then if you wanted to make it weird, to be a shortcut to nothing. Because that is very weird. If it is a shortcut that doesn't shortcut to anything, but then runs a program.
Mm-hmm. So you would see on a desktop, it will install a program into the program files, and then it will leave a shortcut icon on your desktop. If you right-click that icon, you will see a drop-down list. In that drop-down list, you will see Open File Location. If you click that, it will open directly where that main program is actually housed. To make this scene creepy, you would right-click that. You would either not see an option to open file location, or you will open file location and you will not see a file. It will not bring you to a file. It is just a shortcut, but it runs a program if you double-click it.
This is one of the reasons why you typically avoid writing like this, because for people who do know this stuff, it's frustrating to read.
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't know this stuff, it's fucking boring. Because it's typically not adding anything. When I was in school, I had a teacher where he was like, "Okay, we're going to be doing short film scripts," and I told him what my idea was, and I said, my concept had several artificial intelligences as the main character. There were 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that there was going to be a bit of dialogue to them. And I told him, I came to him at the end of class and I was like, okay, so this is my idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to try something, and I want to talk to you before I try it. And if it needs to be changed, so be it. But I would like to try. So I explained to him, they are going to be machines talking to each other I mean, in English, like they're going to be carrying out a conversation, but they're going to be talking like machines would talk, in a sort of way. And he was like, well, it's one of those things where it's like it can be pretty rough or whatever, but give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. So I did it, and he was impressed. He was like, it worked really well, but he was like, there's a little too much of it though. So I had to relax it a bit, but like for somebody like me, I think it's cool, but for most people, it's going to be boring or dry to read. It's a smaller audience who's going to like that kind of thing. The type of audience who's going to like this kind of thing is going to fucking hate this because of how he did it. He's written it in a very dry, incorrect way.
Yeah.
So people who don't like it are going to be bored out of their mind. People who do like it are going to fucking hate it. Because he did it wrong.
Tom stared at the icon. The way it looked on a desktop looks more like a tiny, black, cracked fissure in the form of an X. Well, it still looks like an X. I guess he's trying to describe the detail, but...
It's failing.
Yes. Huh. Bit of an odd choice for an icon, Tom muttered to himself.
Fuck you. Have you seen game icons? Fuck you.
I downloaded a game. I think it was from like 2011. Here's the icon for it.
It's just a giant dick. Like, okay, it's an icon.
Yeah, it's an icon. It's like, it looks okay.
Eh.
But it's a horror game. It's supposed to look...
I think he's trying to like make it appear paranormal. But I mean, you're talking about a computer and the world of computer-generated images. An icon having unique properties to it isn't anything unique. It's just a fucking icon.
I mean, hell, look at your profile picture for Discord.
Well, yeah. Like, okay, cool, the X was weird or whatever, looked neat or whatever. Like, whatever, dude. Fucking, it's a computer. That's not a thing to focus on. There's nothing weird about that. Also, I want to know why he's satisfied that the game had installed when there was no path to actual game files.
Satisfied that the game had installed itself, Tom closed the laptop, sat back down on the couch, wanting to finish watching his movie before playing it. Yeah. Like, you can't even verify that the game installed itself. All you know is that it put a pretty little picture on your desktop. That's not a game. You didn't even open it. You don't know that it installed. Fucking idiot.
Yeah. We have reasons to believe it didn't install correctly through shitty exposition. And Tom is convinced. Tom's a fucking idiot. Is what we've learned today.
Well, we already knew this, but yes. We have reconfirmed.
Oh, yeah. Tom continues to be an idiot, part 3.
That's going to be the name of this video title here. Tom continues to be an idiot, part 3. Tom.
The Tominating. Redemption.
There's the title of the video. Title of...
Was The Dark Knight ever even on Netflix?
Well, see, that's the thing about Netflix. Sometimes it has movies on it, and then it removes them. Nothing's permanent on Netflix. Ever. So if it's not on there...
if it ever was on there.
And so if it's not on there, he could technically get away with it. I don't know if we can look up if movies were on there and then removed. I don't know if there's like a database for it. It was?
Yeah, it adds. It was there.
Okay, for once, he is in
I
the
mean,
clear.
I assume so, because he's clearly obsessed with the movie. Because he felt the need to self-insert his desire to watch it on Netflix. So, you know.
This program now sponsored by Netflix.
Yeah, I wish.
Once Dark Knight had finished, Tom turned Netflix off, got up, grabbed his laptop, and got himself back on the couch. Interesting choice of words. Alright, Kyle, Tom said, moving his mouse towards the X icon and double-clicking it. Let's see what's so great about this game of yours. Tom waited until his screen went black. Again with the black screens. This time, he knew the game was starting up. How'd you know?
Like, I hate this shit so much. It's so boring. It's bad and boring. It just drags on and on and on.
Hey, I found a Saw reference. I found his inspiration.
Was it boring people to death?
That would probably make this a little bit better. Sonic now found a way to bore people to death.
Also, yeah, let's avoid cliches, but here's a music box. Fuck you. Look, I get it. Creepy music box. Haha, yay. It doesn't have the same effect when it's just some music on a fucking game, dude. Like, you want creepy music box? That shit better be in like a fucking attic, layered in dust with like cobwebs and shit. Nobody's been up there. The door to the attic is closed, and you can hear it from inside the house playing. That's how you do creepy music box. Not whatever the fuck this is.
Okay, let me read the paragraph first so people know what we're talking about. After a while, he's heard something. As he continued looking at the screen, quiet but noticeable, a music box playing slowly. He recognized the song. It was a theme song to the very first Sonic the Hedgehog game, except it only played the first few notes twice before ending. So, for once, I actually know what it's supposed to sound like. Because God help me, I played the game. Actually, the first Sonic was okay. But can you imagine that title song being on a music box? It doesn't work. Playing slowly, it'll take too long. It'll bore someone to death listening to it.
This is something that depends on the reader having heard the song and knowing the song by heart to know what it's supposed to sound like. If you're going to describe music, unless it's going to be something very specific that everybody can recognize, you just need to describe what it sounds like. Not, oh, these notes were missing. Not like that. Like, you need to describe how it sounds. Is it disjointed? Is it eerie? Is it high-pitched, low-pitched? Is it fast? Is it slow? You know, these are the descriptors you need to be using. Saying the first few notes are missing doesn't help. Like, that doesn't do anything for the imagination. You are supposed to, when you write and you're trying to describe things, you're supposed to try to emulate and tantalize the senses. Just saying notes were missing doesn't do that.
I would say if you're going to describe something or use details about something that would require someone to know what it is that you're talking about, have it something that doesn't directly impact the story that you're trying to tell. Like, have it something background, I would say. If you were trying to get away with that, which I don't know why you would, but...
Well, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, this is clearly an attempt to build tension.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's done in such an ineffective way, it doesn't add anything to the story. So it feels like it's completely irrelevant. So instead of building tension, it's instead doing the worst thing possible and taking the reader out of the story. Because they're like, okay, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what the song sounds like, so why does it matter which notes are missing? Because I don't know the notes. So yeah, it's going to feel completely irrelevant. But if the song was described correctly, then it'd be like, okay, this is kind of weird. You could maybe get a little bit of that tension building, and that it would actually be contributing to the story.
Yeah. The black screen changed as soon as the song ended. Tom saw on the screen a background of a sunny blue sky, with white clouds floating by slowly to the left. On the center in front of the clouds was the title, Sonic, and that familiar title text in most Sonic titles. The captions, "Press Enter," flashing below it. Tom pressed Enter as instructed, and the title screen faded into the sky background with a computerized blip sound, and then a voice spoke up.
This is the problem with telling this kind of story through this medium.
Mm-hmm.
You have the concept of the horror is that it's this thing that is in a game. So what ends up happening is your scene is happening on the screen of a device that the character is interacting with. And all of the action is happening on that screen. So now you have these descriptions coming up where the screen did this, the screen did that, on the screen appeared this, on the center of the screen that. Everything is happening on the screen. Where the character is doesn't matter. What the character is doing doesn't matter. Everything is happening on the screen. And so now you have this super repetitive, clanky description of everything going on the screen. And this is one of the reasons why this kind of thing doesn't work well as prose. That is, written word. Because you lose a lot of the impact because it's a very visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
And when you sit there and you spend so much time explaining what the screen is doing, you're taking people out of it. This kind of story is ultimately better suited if you were to actually adapt it to a game and you just have people play this really fucked up horror game, or you do this as a short film or something. I'm not saying make this as a short film, please, for the love of God, do not. But if you're trying to do something like this, using it as written word doesn't work as well. It's why you don't see a lot of horror stories, or popular horror stories anyways, that focus around computers and stuff. Because it's a pain in the ass to tell a story through that. When you have characters who are just sitting there interacting with a screen and a keyboard. There was that one horror movie. I watched it at I think it's called Unfriended.
Yes.
The entire thing is done from a desktop perspective with webcams. So you only there's only a couple scenes I think that aren't at the laptop screen, but otherwise the movie is the desktop view of the laptop with webcams of the other characters and the main character appearing on the desktop. And that's your entire perspective for the movie. And it got mixed reviews because of that. Even when it was set up specifically for that, for the purpose of the story, it just didn't work for a lot of people.
I rather liked it.
I think it was meh. The acting and everything was kind of all over the place.
All right.
And also, like, there was some like computer specific stuff that I was like, okay, fuck off.
I'll revise my statement. I liked the idea.
Well, yeah, the idea was neat, which is why I watched it. But something like that is very difficult to pull off, and when you're doing it in writing, it's even harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of information on a screen, and trying to translate all of that into words becomes tedious and exhausting to read, let alone write out.
Like take my own desktop for example. I have like 1, 2, 3. I have 4 different things running at the same time.
Yeah, and when you have a program, especially something like a game going on, it's even more information that's changing second by second. So it becomes more work to keep up with. And it ultimately doesn't work. Because you spend so much time explaining things that you lose any real sense of urgency or tension or anything. Because you have to spend so much time explaining things.
Tom had jumped, startled from how sudden the voice came from the computer. It was a strange voice. It sounded like a young man's. At least somewhat younger than him, except it sounded off. It wasn't just the fact that it spoke in a friendly, almost childlike manner, but Tom could tell just by listening to the voice that there was something not right about it. Like it sounded fake.
You gotta do better than that. You gotta. Like, okay, it's off. It sounds fake. How? What is wrong with it? You know, like, if you're hearing that voice in your mind, then describe how it sounds. Like, okay, it sounds childish. Don't describe it as sounding like Tom. We don't know what Tom's voice sounds like. Okay? If it's a childish voice, then say it is a childish voice. If there's something wrong with the voice, then say what's wrong with it. Is there something about the intonation? Is it too stilted? You know, is it too punctual? Like, what is wrong with the voice? Is there like a strange echo to it? Is it garbled with like static? Like, you can't just say it's off. Off how?
Yeah, it really doesn't help because just based off the descriptors that I just read, I have no idea how this is supposed to sound, and I can't echo that back to people listening because I don't know what he's talking about.
Like, imagine a story about a shapeshifter. Okay, the creature or whatever, its ability is all about changing shapes, and that the key indicator that it's a shapeshifter is that it can't copy things exactly. If somebody is like, oh, you know, Mark, if you have like this one character who's friends with the main character, let's call him Mark or whatever, and it's like, oh, Mark approached me, but something seemed off about him, and then that's all they said, we're going to wonder what seemed off about him, because the character knows who Mark is, they're familiar with Mark, so they can tell that something is off by looking at him. But what's off? If the shapeshifter is actually like has done something wrong to make the shapeshift incomplete, then that should stick out as off. Another pop culture example would be look at the Harry Potter movies. Specifically Goblet of Fire, Mad-Eye Moody. He's kind of like a weird dude, but we brush it off because he's a weird dude the entire time. However, there's a particular moment in the movie where he licks his lips. And it tips off another character, and we see it in that character's expression that there's something very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And that tips us off that Mad-Eye Moody is not actually Mad-Eye Moody. He's Barty Crouch Jr., who has a tic where he licks his lips constantly. And he was disguised as Mad-Eye Moody, or Mooney, or whatever the fuck his name is.
Moody.
So, like, if something is going to be off, you have to say what it is. You have to. Just saying it is off is not enough. It is lazy and amateurish. That's just how it is. You gotta go beyond. It's off. It's not right.
Yeah.
It was weird. How? It's weak writing. You can do better.
Alright, I'm gonna try something here. Does this sound different?
It does.
Okay. Hiya. Do you want to play a game with me?
Stop it. I'll delete you.
Alright, so Spotted saw. Fucking idiot. The screen faded to black, and then 2 options appeared, yes and no. His curiosity still maintained. Tom clicked yes. The voice spoke again. Awesome. I already got the perfect game we can play. One of my favorites.
Fucking kill me. I hate this. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. So bad.
Tom began to detect a slight familiarity to the tone of the voice. It was like whoever was speaking was trying to sound like Sonic the Hedgehog. It was a pretty good attempt, but Tom couldn't shake the feeling that there is something wrong with the way it sounded. The playfulness of the voice didn't really help. Supposed to be either, but he put neither because he's a fucking idiot.
Just here's another pet peeve. Tom began to detect. Explain to me how you begin to do something. Like, yes, we all can understand what you mean by begin to do. It indicates the start of an action happening. However, it's weak writing because in reality, we don't begin to run. Like, from a point of time perspective, yes, there's a point of beginning and a point of ending. But when it comes to a character taking actions, they do not begin to take an action. They either don't or they do. So, either Tom detects a slight familiarity, or he doesn't. He doesn't begin to detect. If he's beginning to detect, he is detecting. He's not just started and didn't finish to detect. He's detecting a slight familiarity. There's no beginning to it. He is. Or he's not. But because he is, Tom detected a slight familiarity. Boom, I just saved you 2 words on your word count by cutting out weak writing. You don't begin, you don't start. Your character does or does not. They can try, but they have to do it or don't do it. Not start to do it.
The screen changed.
Now,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, and now if you want to say that they had begun to work on something for a while, but then decided to stop, that's something different. When it comes to taking actions, they have to do it or don't do it. They can't begin or start to. If they are going to run, they run. If something stops them from running while they are running, then something is stopping them from doing that. They didn't start running. They ran and something stopped them. That was it.
The screen changed into what appeared to be a dimly lit room, with 3 large old TV screens lined up on the floor. A yellow arrow. My God. A yellow arrow blinked toward the right. A yellow arrow blinked toward the right. Towards the right. Next to the third TV, showing more TV screens. Captions were above the screens reading, "Choose a player."
We're now at a point where we have screens within screens.
Yes.
Talk about atrocious.
I know the scene he's describing. They aren't screens, they're boxes.
Yeah.
You're getting the thing that you say you like wrong. That's abysmal.
Yep.
Tom looked at the TVs. Their screens were showing images of numerous Sonic characters. First was Tails the Fox, then Knuckles the Echidna, then Dr. Eggman, fuck you, it's Dr. Robotnik, changed my mind. Then Silver the Hedgehog, then Amy Rose, then Shadow the Hedgehog, then Rouge the Bat, followed by many other Sonic characters, a few of which Tom didn't recognize.
You know, assuming the competency of the reader base knowing major Sonic characters, do we really need to waste time saying Tails the Fox, Knuckles the Echidna, Silver the Hedgehog, Shadow the Hedgehog? Like, do we really need to waste time on that?
Well, we gotta get that name.
Can't we
right.
just say their name and move on? You know, Sonic, Shadow, Tails, Knuckles, etc.
Nah, it's too much work.
That's just fucking dumb.
Tom was rather surprised by the selection of characters for him to choose from, though he had already come to the conclusion this wasn't a game Sega had created. Looking through the selection using the arrow keys, he stopped at Silver. Thinking it over, Tom had remembered he always loved playing as Silver in Sonic 06. As well as playing as him in Sonic Rivals and the Mario and Sonic games. Filled with nostalgia, he pressed enter on Silver's TV. The voice spoke again. Silver, huh? Is that your favorite? The yes and no options appeared again. Tom was rather surprised at how the game guessed that Silver was his favorite character. It didn't guess, it asked you. That would be your confirmation screen.
Tom is a twink confirmed.
But he rationalized that it could have just been part of the overall gaming mechanic. Yeah, it's called confirmation. If this game was indeed made by a fan of the Sonic franchise, then perhaps the creator wanted to cater the player's needs by letting them play as their favorite character. With that resolve, Tom selected yes.
I can't believe we've wasted so much time on Tom picking to play as the twink.
How many paragraphs was that?
Let's see here.
One, two,
go from here. Tom selected yes. Go all the way down there. That was yeah, I gotta clear out my previous thing. 267 words. To describe all of that and him picking Silver. Yeah.
I've been drinking water. I'm gonna take a restroom break. Now that we got through the fucking character select.